The proposed Texas brine alluvial aquifer vent wells are here. We've done calculation, and the maximum radius influence is approximately 500 feet. So if I put in a vent well, the maximum distance it's going to have an effect is about 500 feet away. So on the initial installation, what Texas Brine did, after some comments on their work plan, they have proposed putting in all these vent wells around here. They've already put these in down here, along the Rick Road, along 70, up in here, and up in here, and down here. And once they get those flaring, those are areas where the gas pressure should start decreasing, but the decrease is going to take place over months, not weeks. Back up. The one thing we need, folks, and I know it's a sensitive issue, we need to get vent wells in the community to get the pressures down. We've got to get that started. And I know there's reluctance putting vent wells in the community, but we really need to happen. Because we can put all the wells around the edges that we want, until we get some in the community, we're not going to be able to get that gas pressure down. And that's just the physics of the system. So I know there's reluctance, but we need to get probably a half a dozen vent wells in the community, and we can tie those into common flares. We can pipe this stuff, so you don't have to have a flare next to your house necessarily. But we've got to get some wells in the community.
You're going to have pipes running all through the substation, those flares, to get to that?
If you put them in the community, okay, we will have to pipe it to a common treatment place, yes.
If you start venting all the gas off and the pressure starts dropping in the aquifer, are you then going to block off all these vents? Because if the pressure starts coming back up in the aquifer again,
No.
you really hadn't solved the problem.
What we know, yeah, we know we've got gas coming in all the time. The vent wells would not be plugged and abandoned until the gas no longer is coming in to feed the aquifer. So even if you flare them down where they're no longer producing, you're going to have to leave them there in an operational standpoint until you're sure there's no gas coming into a given area.
So we may have these vent wells in our area for a long time.
That's correct.
Well, couldn't you just find the source and get from the source?
That's,
rather than trying to get it all out?
yeah, one of the things Don Marlin talked about that we're going to get out of 3D seismic is to be able to answer that very question. If we've got some beds down there at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 feet, can we go in and get the gas pressure in those down before it even comes up? That certainly is on the table. The 3D seismic is going to help us answer that question. So all these questions you're asking are excellent questions, and we're looking at the whole universe to try to get this gas situation under control.
I just don't see how it's feasible for you to run pipe all through that subdivision there. I mean, I don't know where you put it, unless you put it up through the trees, into their house.
We never lived in a refinery before, I'm not going to live in one now.
Okay, I understand. That's part of the issue we've got to address, is how to run the piping and stuff. But I'm telling you folks, we can't get the gas pressure below the houses down without wells in the community.
Where's the gas coming from?
It's coming up through the collapse zone, through the damaged rock zone. It's getting into the alluvial aquifer in the sand and gravel, and then it's spreading out there.
So why are you not putting that well in the swamp before the houses to intercept the gas?
That's what these are.
You didn't put any yet, no swamp yet.
Well, they're putting them in right now.
You get,
I know there's a timing issue. I am very sensitive to that.
I understand, but.
They're putting it in. The problem is, if I put them in here, there's enough gas over here that it would be a very long time before the pressure goes down.
But I agree, why couldn't you put them in the swamp behind the subdivision there? Just along.
Because I can't, the radius of influence doesn't reach under where most of the houses are.
If you put them in that swamp right behind, parallel to South Tunnel,
Right here,
that wouldn't get,
It-
that's
it-
said 500 feet, I thought.
it would get in like this, and yes, that's a possible option, okay?
Okay, put a deep well in and go below that and draw the gas out before it comes up to the rock formation.
In the collapse zone, that's one of the
No,
things.
I know Texas Ron ain't in the gas business, but, we are.
I hear you. That's one of the things, once we get the 3D seismic, we can start looking at that thing. And so folks, we're gonna get some answers to be able to answer these kind of questions. I know there's a lot of sensitivity.
We got a lot of activity too.
It's,
I spoke to Mike Taylor about putting a vent well on my property. He called me and talked to him about it a week and a half ago. I never heard again from him. What are the particulars on these wells? If they put one in there, it's gonna stay there on your property forever?
depending how the venting goes, it could have to be there for quite a while, yeah. Probably, yes.
If your family and your grandkids are in this area right now, would you be telling them, stay in your home?
No.
Would you be telling them, you need to evacuate the area and get out?
As I've said before, with the conditions I know right now in the community, the evacuation order is appropriate.
Okay, that's all you do.
Company got it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was, wanting to know why nothing was never said about installing wells towards Grand Bayou. They got gas there. There's nobody living there.
Over here,
Yeah, in Grand Bayou. I mean, you go put wells right there by the Gator corner, right on that front part, ain't nobody
Being
living there.
discussed. It's being discussed.
it's being,
You got gas there though.
what I'm talking to you about tonight are the ones that Texas Brine has already agreed to drill, okay? I am not saying this is the end point, trust me.
I understand that. I just asked a simple question, and a simple answer will be fine.
In all the comments we made back to them, here's the sequence we've gone through. There's been a lot of discussion. Right now, we need to get these wells in. The sooner the better. I think everybody
Well,
here,
tomorrow if you want. You can put one right there in Grand Bayou tomorrow.
okay? We're worried about the community.
Well, we live in Grand Bayou, you're not worried about
Right there
me.
is on our property.
Which one?
Right there in the corner of Highway 69 and Highway 70. There's two geoposts on our property. If we're
That-
looking at our property and we're
that-
not able to stay there,
No, I know those wells very well. I appreciate it. I can assure you that is being discussed right now,
right
okay?
now that's vacant. That well could usually go
I know.
flare and everything.
That's, I think, John Boudreaux, you would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
That we're pushing that, okay?
I know Bayou-Corn has the majority of the people.
No, but I also understand your property. I've walked out there. I understand. Okay, and that area right up here has got to be included in this.
Sir, you're showing a straight line right there around Grand Bayou, and this is kind of suspicious to some people that it follows look like the property line of those people on that side.
Okay,
Is there a brick wall right there that prevents the gas?
I wish. No, and that's a nice segue into the next piece. Go ahead, Deborah. The reason we drew the line there, when the operators went out, when this started up, they ran PDK logs on all their water wells. And they weren't showing any gas in the PDK logs. So when I drew that line, it was based on no gas showing up in any of those water wells that are on the east side of Grand Bayou. What we know now is in these big water wells with the large diameter casings, the PDK give us what we call a false negative. In other words, gas can be there, the PDK log cannot see it. All right? So we were trusting the data. We've gone through an evaluation on this. On these, especially these big water wells with multiple casings, because we were questioning what's going on. It didn't make a lot of sense. Well, it turns out these multiple case water wells, nothing was showing up on the PDK log, but that's because the tool could not see the gas through the casings. Go ahead. What I'm going to show you here is an example of the report that we just finished a week ago, Deborah. Looking, this is Texas brine, Oxy 3 here, Oxy 2 here. We're going to look at 2 water wells, and then we're going to look at smaller diameter single cased wells in the PDK logs. And here's what you see. The red here shows where we have gas in the single case wells. If you look at the log, that's what these kicks are out here. That's showing the gas. You're seeing it over here. You see the little orange. There's gas there. In between, you have these multiple case, large diameter water wells. You're not able to see the gas. We know the gas is there. They're flaring it. So unfortunately, in this whole thing, what we have learned is PDK logs in large diameter water wells are not a reliable indication if you've got gas there. So the straight line to the west, or to the east that you talk about, was based on this, and now additional work has to be done to define that eastern boundary. In addition, we have found that the PDK logs in the vent well performance don't really work once we get the gas pressures and the gas flow rates down to a low point. Recent logs in 1, 2, and 4, all 3 of which are flaring as I speak, showed no gas. But we're flaring gas. You can see it coming out the flare. So the PDK logs have a sensitivity that is not going to help us in the long term. We have to look at other things to figure out when have we depleted all the gas out of the aquifer. And I'm telling you this because part of my job is to shoot straight with you. When we've got a tool that doesn't work, or doesn't work the way we hoped it would, we've got to make adjustments, and this is one of them. The PDK logs do a good job of detecting gas when you've got a high gas saturation, but when it gets down, they're not proven to be very reliable. We've talked about the vent wells in the community. There's a lot of good discussion items about that. We're making good progress on how to install and operate these wells. Texas Brine is installing a number of new wells. We're collecting data. Shaw is going to be involved. We look at this data almost every day as it comes in to figure out what's going on. We've got an issue going on with PDK logs. We're going to have to adjust. I can't tell you what the adjustment's going to be, but we're going to have to make some adjustment. The other thing, Tetra Tech, who's working for Texas Brine, has got Dr. Charles Faust, who's one of the preeminent modelers in being able to look at gas situations in this. He and I have had a number of discussions. He's a good asset to the team, is what I want to tell you. He's going to do an honest job with this, but Shaw, CB and I, we're going to be working with him to get the answers everybody in this audience needs.